This clip is brought to you by VegasWinners.com. Get expert sports betting advice from some of the best handicappers in the world. Head on over to VegasWinners.com and win yourself some money.
Let's talk about where we are in 1996. It's been 25 years. I can't believe it. And we've just recently covered In Your House Mind Games. Now we're going to be doing In Your House Buried Alive. It's hard to believe this was 25 freaking years ago. And when we first talked about Mind Games, we were here in person and got to watch that main event again. And I don't know, just took me back. Let's jump into it. Let's start with a little quote from our old pal, Dave Meltzer here. He would say of the most recent In Your House Mind Games, it was the biggest and most important Monday night battle to date. The WWF losing the Monday night head-to-head rating battles by record margins the previous 2 weeks was set to peak. It was the much ballyhooed beginning of the new fall season. It was the climax of the Razor Ramon Diesel angle that now has to rank as the biggest flop since the Edsel. And it was the day after the fake shoot angle with ECW. They had the finals of the Intercontinental Tournament with Mark Mero beating Farouk. They had pulled it from the pay-per-view show in order to help the rating. Not to mention the traditional bump one normally gets coming the day after a pay-per-view and the fact that they were going live. The latter is the most overrated criteria of all, as in the days when there was no Nitro, it was generally the final week of tapings of the oldest matches that had the best time for the results to circulate the draw when the Raw ratings were the best in any cycle. Eventually the internet will change that, and that does have to be taken into account for future planning of the business. And the percentage of wrestling fans with internet and newsletters combined today is probably less than 2%. Hardly a lot to make an iota of a difference in a national rating. So let's take a time out right there. Meltzer's saying right here, I want to repeat it. The percentage of wrestling fans with internet and newsletters combined today is probably less than 2%. Hardly enough to make an iota of difference in a national rating. And you have told me before, way back when, before you were back with WWE, that you would sometimes hear guys say, in regards to something they did on television, oh man, my Twitter blew up. Everybody's talking about it. And perhaps, I don't know, 2 million people saw the show. You do a quick Twitter search and there were 17 mentions or some such. It really does bring into perspective that while we are, we're getting granular on the show here, as Jeff Jarrett likes to say, that really is what it is in the scheme of things, right?
Yeah. I mean, perception. You look at your Twitter, oh my God, it's blowing up. I got 5 comments. Come on. In a world of millions and millions of people, just in general, that's not blowing up, folks. So yes, that percentage is very small. And, you know, I also think that while I am a huge proponent of live television, I do think it adds an element of danger, surprise, and overall urgency that I think makes it better. I don't think that, you know, tape shows, if they're good and if they're great for that matter, and people have heard about them in advance, then maybe that 2% or whatever percentage of that is that knows what's coming, hopefully they'll be intrigued to tune in and see it. Again, I'm a live guy. I like live because it's done. It's over. I can walk away at whatever time it is and you're done with it. Back when we were taping, it's like, okay, you're live for those 2 hours, but man, now you still got 2 more hours to do, and you can change those up until they air as well. So I like being live and being done with it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe this is real, but we not only got a handicapper, but we got the best ever. How are you so good at handicapping these games? I mean, 4-0, that's quite a streak already.
Well, let's talk about every pick I've given this year in the NFL as an example. 23-8. Every pick I've given this year. 4 weeks in the bag, 23-8. There's nobody in the country that can match what I do, but I always make sure Because anybody, Conrad, could make up anything. They could tell you and blow smoke and tell you, oh, I'm the greatest. But I am independently monitored and documented, so nobody could ever question what I say and go, I don't believe it. I send every pick to an independent monitoring and documentation service that has to get the pick before the game goes off and then publishes it after the game goes off so anybody can see what I gave. But this is the best start I've ever had. I've never been this good to start a season. You don't win every week, 4 weeks in a row, everything you put out. It's been the kind of year I've had. So get on a hot streak, because when a guy's on a hot streak like me, you want to ride it. I've always had a talent for picking winners. Never quite as hot as I am right now, but I've always been very good at it. And I think it's because I do more homework than anybody else. You know, the average guy or gal watching this podcast, they don't have time. They have a career. They have jobs. They might read the newspaper or go online and see something, but they don't have time 80 hours a week to study the games. That's what I do. And I have a crew of guys behind me, my consultants, who every week we get together 3 times a week and they throw their ideas at me. I throw my ideas at them. And then I pick the final 5 plays on Saturday and Sunday in college and pro football. So, I mean, I've got a great team behind me too, but we're all doing together hundreds of hours of homework. So you don't have to. It's all at VegasWinners.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to VegasWinners.com right now. Let's win some money. Meltzer would write, WCW was hardly sitting still with most of its talent in Japan since the original plan was to do a tape show this week. They practically promised the NWO would take over the show, which they did, to the point they took out an ad in USA Today, practically giving the angle away. The results, Monday Nitro did a 3.4 rating, and Monday Night Raw did a 2.0. For the past several weeks, ever since the introduction of the Razor Diesel angle, the WWF TV has reeked of desperation. The TV is put together constantly begging the viewers in every commercial break to not tune away and leading the viewers along with teases for the rest of the show that end with all the sincerity of a 900-line pitch. It's failed miserably. In fact, despite it being the most part of the talk of the inside of the wrestling industry, the decision-making processes, the constant striving for attention, and attempts to be the thing talked about on Tuesday on the hotlines, on the internet, the one thing the WWF is successful in being talked about on is killing its adult audience. And that's the audience it needs to win on Mondays. There's been a lot written about the audience of WWE these days, that it's skewing older. I think maybe back when I was a kid, it was more aimed at kids. I could be wrong on that, but with action figures and what have you really becoming the hot thing, it did feel like it skewed younger. The Attitude Era seems like it was more adolescent males and young men. Do you think the audience has really changed, or is it really by and large the same folks who've just grown up with you?
I think it's a little bit of both, but a lot of it is the same folks that have grown up with it and continue to follow the product. I think that there's, through time, and I'm one of those cycle guys. I believe the business, goes in a cycle and you have your ups and your downs. But the one thing that you always have to look at that people forget is you have to look at it as a business. And where are you going to do the best thing for business? And if that involves merchandising and action figures and movies and extracurricular things that you can create revenue from, then that's what you do, because that's business. It's not all about, okay, well, we're going to do this to please ourselves. That's one of the silliest things that I ever hear in critiques. You're doing it for business purposes. You want television is all about selling ads. And that's what you do. As long as you're selling ads and you're making money on your business, then you're doing good business.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.